He thought he was saving a helpless kitten from freezing to death in the snow. He fed it, warmed it, and let it sleep in his bed. But he didn't know that the creature breathing softly beside him wasn't a house cat at all. It took 5 months, a terrified veterinarian, and a visit from the authorities for Jack to learn the terrifying, beautiful truth. By the time he realized what he had brought into his home, it was already too late to turn back. Welcome back to Kindness Valley. Today's story is about love, mistaken identity, and a bond that breaks all the rules. If you love animals, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. It was one of those January nights where the cold doesn't just touch your skin, it bites right through to the bone. Jack was walking home from a late shift, his boots crunching loudly on the icy pavement. The streetlights were flickering, casting long, eerie shadows across the snowbanks. He just wanted to get home, turn up the heat, and forget the world. But then he saw it. At first, Jack thought it was a discarded gray wool hat lying near the tire of a parked sedan. But then the hat shivered. Jack stopped dead in his tracks. He squinted against the wind. It was a kitten. Tiny, gray, and curled into a tight ball, trying desperately to conserve the last bit of heat left in its frail body. Jack didn't hesitate. He knew that in this temperature, minutes mattered. He knelt down, the snow soaking instantly into his jeans. "Hey there, little guy," he whispered, his voice cracking in the cold air. The kitten lifted its head. Jack expected a meow, a cry for help. Instead, he was met with silence. The kitten opened its eyes, and Jack felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the weather. The eyes were huge, a piercing, electric yellow. They didn't look scared, they looked empty, stoic, like the kitten had already accepted its fate. "Not on my watch," Jack muttered. He unzipped his heavy parka, scooped the freezing creature up, and tucked it directly against his chest, right over his heart. The kitten was stiff, almost frozen solid. Jack ran the rest of the way home. Inside his apartment, the rescue mission began. Jack bypassed the vet for the night. It was too late, and the roads were icing over. He created a makeshift nest using his heated blanket and soft towels. He rubbed the kitten's limbs gently, trying to get the blood flowing. For 3 hours, nothing happened. The kitten just lay there, breathing shallowly. Jack sat on the floor, watching, waiting for the inevitable end. But then, a twitch. Then, a stretch. The kitten stood up. It didn't wobble like a normal weak kitten. It stood firmly on paws that seemed slightly too big for its body. It looked at Jack, walked over to the bowl of tuna he had set down, and devoured it in seconds. No chewing, just tearing and swallowing. "You're a survivor, aren't you?" Jack smiled, exhausted. "I'm going to call you Ash." The next morning, Jack took Ash to the local clinic. Dr. Miller, an older vet who had seen everything, gave Ash a quick look over. "You got lucky, Jack," Dr. Miller said, listening to Ash's heart. "He's dehydrated and a bit malnourished, but strong, surprisingly strong." "Is he a specific breed?" Jack asked. "His fur pattern. It's faint, but it looks like ticking." Dr. Miller shrugged. "Looks like a standard domestic shorthair mix. Maybe some tabby in there. Give him a few weeks. He'll fluff up." If only Dr. Miller had looked closer at the ear structure. If only he had measured the femur length. But it was just a routine checkup. Jack took Ash home, believing he had a standard, lucky rescue cat. The first month was bliss, but strange bliss. Jack, being a lifelong animal lover and a fan of Kindness Valley stories, knew that rescue animals often had quirks, but Ash was different. Ash didn't play. He hunted. When Jack waved a feather wand, normal cats would bat at it, roll over, maybe do a clumsy jump. Ash would lower his body until his belly scraped the floor. His pupils would dilate until his yellow eyes were almost entirely black. And then, snap. The speed was blurring. Ash wouldn't just catch the feather. He would rip it from the wand with a force that jerked Jack's arm forward. And the sounds. Ash never meowed. Not once. Instead, the apartment was filled with strange noises. Chirps, clicks, a deep, guttural trill that sounded more like a bird or a heavy engine than a cat. Jack found it charming. "You're just a weird little guy," he'd say, scratching Ash behind the ears. Ash would lean into the touch, purring. But even the purr was different, deeper, vibrating through Jack's chest like a subwoofer. By month 3, the physical changes were impossible to ignore. Ash was growing. Not just getting chubby, he was getting long. One evening, Jack was cooking dinner. He turned around to grab the salt and gasped. Ash was sitting on top of the refrigerator. The fridge was 6 feet high. There were no chairs nearby, no counters to use as steps. Ash had cleared a 6-foot vertical jump from a standing position on the floor. He sat there, staring down at Jack like a gargoyle, his tail twitching slowly. "How did you get up there?" Jack whispered. Ash just blinked those yellow eyes and let out a chirp. Things took a turn when Jack decided Ash needed a friend. He fostered a calm, older tabby named Barnaby. He thought it would be good for Ash to have companionship. The introduction was a disaster. The moment Barnaby walked into the living room, the air changed. Ash didn't hiss. He didn't arch his back or puff his tail like a scared house cat. Instead, he went completely silent. He lowered his head. His shoulder blades rose and fell as he stalked forward with a fluid, liquid grace that was terrifying to watch. Barnaby, a 15-pound street-hardened cat, took one look at Ash and urinated on the floor in pure terror. He scrambled under the sofa and refused to come out for 2 days. Jack had to return Barnaby to the shelter. "My cat is very territorial," Jack apologized. He felt guilty, but he couldn't deny the bond he had with Ash. It was just the two of them against the world. But the world was starting to notice. Jack posted a photo of Ash on a forum for cat lovers. He captioned it, "My rescue kitten is 5 months old and already weighs 20 pounds. Big boy." The comments weren't the usual, "Aw, so cute." They were confusing. People asked, "OP, are you sure that's a cat?" Or, "Look at the ear tufts. Look at the size of those paws." Some even said, "That face shape isn't domestic. You need to get that checked." Jack laughed them off. "People on the internet are crazy," he told Ash. Ash was currently chewing on a thick leather dog bone, shredding it to pieces in minutes. The turning point came in the 5th month. Jack was lying on the couch when he noticed Ash's claws were getting long. They were like talons, thick and curved. "Time for a trim, buddy," Jack said. He grabbed the clippers. He had done this a dozen times with other cats. He grabbed Ash's paw gently. The reaction was instantaneous and violent. Ash didn't just pull away. He exploded. With a sound that was definitely not a hiss, more like a snarl, Ash spun around. His strength was shocking. It felt like Jack was wrestling a muscular dog, not a cat. Ash swiped, not out of malice, but out of instinct. 3 deep, parallel gashes opened up on Jack's forearm. Blood dripped onto the carpet. Ash immediately retreated to the corner of the room. He didn't look angry. He looked alert, wild. He was panting, his mouth slightly open. Jack grabbed a towel to wrap his arm, staring at his kitten. For the first time, fear crept into his heart. He looked at Ash, really looked at him. The ears were black-tipped and tall. The muzzle was wide and pronounced. The legs were too long, the hind legs slightly longer than the front, giving him a sloped, predatory stance. "What are you?" Jack whispered. The next morning, Jack drove to a specialist clinic, an hour away. He didn't go back to Dr. Miller. He went to a large veterinary hospital. The waiting room was full of dogs and cats. When Jack walked in with Ash in a large travel crate, a German shepherd nearby began to whine and tucked its tail between its legs. The dog smelled something the humans couldn't. Jack was called into exam room 3. A young vet, Dr. Sarah Chen, walked in. She was cheerful. "So, let's see this big boy everyone is talking about." She stopped. Jack had opened the carrier door. Ash walked out slowly, stretching his long, lanky body. He jumped effortlessly onto the stainless steel exam table and sat, staring directly at Dr. Chen. Dr. Chen didn't move. She slowly reached for the phone on the wall, her eyes never leaving Ash. "Is everything okay?" Jack asked, his throat dry. "Jack," Dr. Chen said, her voice very quiet, "I need you to step back against the wall. Do not touch the animal." "The animal? His name is Ash. He's my cat." "Jack, please," she said firmly. She spoke into the phone. "Code yellow in room 3. Bring Dr. Evans. Now." Jack felt panic rising. "What is going on? Is he sick?" "No," Dr. Chen said, backing away slowly. "He's not sick. But I've worked in a zoo before, Jack. I know what I'm looking at. And that is not a house cat." Minutes later, Dr. Evans, a senior veterinarian, rushed in. He looked at Ash, looked at Ash's teeth, and then looked at the X-rays they managed to take. "Jack," Dr. Evans said, turning to him, "where did you get this animal?" "I found him, in the snow. He was dying. You saved his life," Dr. Evans said, "but you also put yours in extreme danger. Look at this X-ray." He pointed to the screen. "See the density of the bones? See the structure of the jaw? We need to run a DNA test to be 100% sure, but I am willing to bet my license on this. This is a hybrid. Specifically, a high-content jungle cat hybrid, or possibly a Chauzi with significant wild DNA. He is part Felis chaus, a wild cat from the swamps of Asia." Jack stared at Ash. Ash chirped and rubbed his head against the cold metal of the table. "He's wild. He is a predator, Jack. He isn't domesticated. He's tamed. There is a huge difference. As he reaches sexual maturity, which is happening right now, his instincts will take over. He could severely hurt you without meaning to. In this state, owning a wild animal without a license is illegal. I have to report this." The next 2 weeks were a nightmare. Animal control was notified. There was talk of seizing Ash. They used words like confiscation and euthanasia if no sanctuary is found. Jack was heartbroken. He sat in his apartment, looking at the empty spot on the rug where Ash used to sleep. He looked at the scars on his arm. He didn't care about the danger. He cared about the freezing cold night and the heartbeat he felt against his chest. "He's not a monster," Jack told the officer who came to his door. "He's my family. I saved him. He trusts me." "It's the law, sir," the officer said. "Unless you can prove you have the facilities to house a wild hybrid, he has to go." Jack didn't give up. This is what Kindness Valley is all about. Never giving up on those we love. Jack drained his savings. He hired a lawyer who specialized in exotic animal cases. He moved out of his apartment and rented a small house with a backyard. He spent weeks building a specialized enclosure, heavy-gauge steel mesh, double-entry doors, climbing towers that reached 10 feet high. He applied for the special permits required by the state. He took classes on handling exotic animals. He worked himself to the bone, fueled by one thought: I am not letting him die. Finally, the day of the hearing came. The judge reviewed the photos of the enclosure, the permits, and Jack's training certificates. "You have gone to extraordinary lengths for this animal, Mr. Jack," the judge said, peering over his glasses. "Most people would have walked away." "He didn't walk away from me when he was freezing," Jack said. "He fought to live. I'm fighting for him." The gavel banged. "Granted, conditional custody." Jack drove to the holding facility. When he walked toward the cage, Ash was pacing back and forth, his ears pinned back, growling at anyone who came near. He looked truly wild now, terrifying and powerful. "Ash!" Jack called out softly. The pacing stopped. The ears swiveled forward. Ash looked through the bars. He let out that familiar bird-like chirp. Jack fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "I'm here, buddy. Let's go home." It has been a year since that day. Life is different now. Jack knows he doesn't have a pet. He has a companion, a roommate who happens to be a 35-pound semi-wild jungle cat. They have new rules: no sudden movements, respect for boundaries, raw meat diet. Jack locks the bedroom door at night because Ash's play is too rough for sleeping humans. But every evening, when Jack sits on the porch of his new house, looking out at the secure enclosure, Ash comes to the mesh. He rubs his massive head against Jack's hand through the wire. He purrs, that deep engine rumble purr. The vets were right. Ash is not a cat. He is something more ancient, something wilder. But as Jack looks into those intelligent golden eyes, he knows one thing for sure. Ash isn't a pet. He's a miracle. And sometimes, the things we save end up saving us right back, teaching us that love doesn't always look like a fluffy kitten. Sometimes, love looks like a wild beast that decides, against all its instincts, to trust you. What an incredible journey. Jack and Ash are still together today, living happily in their unique way. It just goes to show that compassion knows no species. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a big thumbs up. It helps Kindness Valley share more amazing stories like this one. And tell us in the comments, would you have kept Ash if you found out the truth? Don't forget to subscribe and click that bell. We'll see you in the next video. Stay kind.